So the title of our session is The Evolution of Natural Gas Market, and in order to save time and to maybe have time to discuss with you after the presentation, I just want to, each of the speakers, just to say 1-2 sentences about you, and then we start. All right? Please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I am Mahdjouba Belaifa. I am the head of Gas Market Analysis Department of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. You will know later who is Gas Exporting Countries Forum. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Furfari, Samuele Furfari. I am professor of geopolitics of energy in Brussels University, and I am also the president of the European Society for Engineers and Industrialists.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andreou from Cyprus, representing DEFA, which is the acronym for Cygas. I'm the secretary and member of the board of directors. Thank you.
Good morning, Kalimera. Lucie Roux from Platts, senior writer analyst for LNG. I want to thank Costas for inviting me because today I'm representing alumna of ESCP Europe, where I did the master in energy management 7 years ago. Thank you.
Federico Regola from Italy. I represent Zenith, retail and gas and electricity company. It's a company that is owned by Eni, or NI, as you wrongly say. That is the 100% shareholder of the company.
Good morning, my name is Ioannis Mitropoulos. I represent here the company Natural Gas Hellenic Energy Company. I'm the general manager of the company. We have a history of 160 years, so we are the oldest energy supplier in Greece.
Good morning, I'm Christos Koulides. I'm the technical director of the gas distribution company of Athens.
Hello. Yeah. So I propose that we start with a broader picture with you, and then we will arrive to Greece, little by little. Okay? You have the floor.
Presentation, please. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. First of all, allow me to thank the organizer of HAEE for inviting the Gas Exporting Countries Forum to be a part of the discussion today. I will be very pleased to invite you through my presentation to see an overview about how we see the gas market. Any help, please? Oh. Any assistance, please? Not working. Sorry for this technical issue. So maybe I should start. Please don't look at this slide. We are going to come to it. But I will start by presenting who is GECF, the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, for those who are not familiar. Still not working. Here, yes. So I should come here? This is forward. Yeah, okay. Okay, so some facts and figures about the GECF, the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, for those who are not familiar. For those who are familiar, just allow me to refresh your memories, and apologize for maybe repeating it again. But the GECF, or Gas Exporting Countries Forum, is an intergovernmental organization of 19 member countries and observers, which sits on 70% of the global proven gas reserves. It contributes to 45% of the global natural gas production. And in terms of trade, GECF contribute with 54% of the LNG trade and 64% of pipeline trade. In this slide, I tried to combine what is behind the energy security when we as we talk a lot about it. Energy security from our point of view is actually the security of supply, where the buyer or the consumer needs to diversify its sources of energy and sources of supplies. But also we have to put in the other side of the equation the security of gas demand. We see that from both sides there are challenges and risks that make the gas industry suffer. So in order to have the balance, we think that these challenges need to be looked at together through dialogue and cooperation and investment. These challenges doesn't prevent, in our view, natural gas to play an important role in the energy mix by 2040. Where we see, first of all, that the fossil fuel continue to dominate despite the reduction of their share from 76% to 81% to 76% by 2040. And natural gas will be the fastest growing fossil fuel, where it will see its share growing from 22% currently to 26% in the energy mix by 2040. Coming to natural gas demand, we see that it will grow by 46% from its current level of 3.7 TCM to more than 5.4 TCM in 2040. And this growth is driven by the power generation sector, industrial sector, and transportation sector. Talking about the transportation sector, we include also the LNG as a bunkering fuel, which is driven by the IMO regulation that will enter into application next year, that caps the sulfur content of bunker fuels to 0.5% compared to its current limit of 3.5% by 2020. In terms of gas production, it has also recorded an increase by 4% in 2018 to stand around 3.9 TCM, recording the highest growth since 2015. We expect this supply to grow further with a growth rate of 3.3% to average 4.1 TCM in 2020. And the growth is driven by North America, the Middle East, and Africa, while Europe will continue experiencing a declining indigenous gas production. In terms of pipeline trade, so it has increased by less than 2% in 2018, a growth driven by, mainly by Russia and Azerbaijan with the commissioning of the TANAP. From US side, it has seen its exports increasing to Mexico after the completion of several transborder pipelines. However, their exports to Canada has declined. While in Europe, gas imports were supported by the decreasing indigenous gas production, as I mentioned, and also the need to replenish gas storage volumes, which by March 2018 has experienced their lowest level over the last several years due to cold weather and to the heating season. An interesting part regarding the projects, pipeline projects from GECF side, so we expect by 2019-2020 to commission around 140 BCM of additional capacities led by Russia. Bulk of it destined to Europe, the Nord Stream, Turk Stream, and Southern Gas Corridor. And these pipeline capacities will represent 19% of the European gas consumption, while the power of Siberia destined to China will represent 14% of China gas consumption, the current level of gas consumption. The LNG market. So from this side, so we have seen an exponential increase of LNG trade since 2016, where 2018 the increase was around 10%, driven by the commissioning of US new capacities, Australia and Russia mainly. Asia sits on the top of LNG importers with more than 75% of the global LNG flowing into the continent. And if we look at the latest figures for this year, the Q1, we see, compared to the Q1 2018, we see that the LNG trade increased by 11%, and this is normal considering the commissioning and the ramping up of Australian new capacities. In this diagram, it's just to show the performance of GECF on each market, where we see that the GECF LNG supplies are dominant in all markets, and we see strong competition in Asia after Australia started exporting. In terms of prices, in 2018, the prices, except Henry Hub, the LNG and gas spot prices converged to around more than $8 by MMBTU. It was higher than the previous years, and this was driven by the increase of demand of gas in China, driven by the coal to gas to coal switching policy to improve the air quality, and also to abnormal weather calling to more heating in winter and more cooling in summer, in addition to low gas storage in US and in Europe. However, during the last period of 2018, we observed a decline of LNG prices that continued this year to converge to around $4.6 by MMBTU. This is due to ample supplies of LNG, a milder weather, and also here the strategy of Chinese LNG buyers has driven this price drops, as the Chinese buyers they kept the ships around the region at the end of a summer period, expecting cold weather, but the weather didn't respond to their expectations, so they had to not to take the LNG. The prices went down in China, and then the cargoes had to go to Europe. This level of prices has seen the arbitrage opportunity across the basins disappearing. I come to the concluding remarks. I wanted to put this market view in the context of SDGs. And we, in GECF, we consider that natural gas is the fuel of choice for sustainable development as per our summit's declarations and our long-term strategy. Energy is important for the development of nations in the frame of SDGs. As I mentioned earlier, fossil fuel will continue to dominate, and natural gas is very compatible with SDGs and has a lot to offer. It is abundant, it is a 3A asset, it produces much less CO2 as compared with coal and oil. It emits no particles, no SOx, and very, very low NOx, and it is flexible in base load and peak load, and it is safe. The last slide that shows that based on our recognition of the role of natural gas in the climate change issues, so GECF embarked in a set of initiatives that reconcile the natural gas promotion and the climate change issues. First, GECF contributed with its first message to COP21 that recognized the importance of challenges posed by climate change and global warming. GECF also acknowledged that natural gas, as the cleanest fossil fuel, has a vital role to play in the global energy mix. And in COP24 also, the message of GECF was reiterating the importance of dialogue on greenhouse gas emissions, mitigation and sustainable development. Also, GECF is working currently on a climate change initiative that involve a certain number of activities environmentally friendly while promoting natural gas. Also, GECF got the status of observer intergovernmental organization to UNFCCC last year at COP24, and cautious about the role of R&D in maximizing the gas value and reducing costs and reaching these objectives. GECF is implementing its gas research institute to be established in Algeria. Thank you very much for your attention, and we'll be very happy to respond to your questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I will leave the floor to Professor Furfari to share with us his views on natural gas markets.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I would like to thank the Hellenic Association of Energy Economics to give me the opportunity to be with you. And yesterday we learned a lot. I hope that today we will continue to enjoy to exchange each other. World is changing. World has changed, world is changing, world will change. And therefore we need to be prepared to new situation, which we are not knowing what will be tomorrow. I think that the main element for change is technology. The technology is making the changes, and we are obliged to follow those changes. It's what I would like to show you with a few slides. I choose this image to introduce my presentation because it's common today to say that energy is a bridge. Of course, a very long bridge. A so long bridge that we don't know when it will be finished. And it's better to be prepared to this very long bridge. I told you that the world is changing. In 1975, the European Union decided that it will not be allowed to burn gas in power plant because we were afraid that there was not enough gas. It took 16 years to admit that we were wrong. Why we were wrong? Because we didn't know. And the technology has evolved, and after 16 years, say, well, it's better to allow to burn gas. This map is from 2003. And as you can see, we were thinking that it should be possible to create a ring of gas around the Mediterranean Sea, ignoring that there was something in the middle. 2006, the same map, again, nothing in the middle. I present you a part of my office, and a few days ago, I pay attention to the map that I have in my office. I have not paid attention to that details before, and look at the map. You see here a nice project between Yamal Peninsula and the rest of Europe. This has not been built. 2007. And here, again, in the Levantine Sea, nothing in 2007. That's very surprising that in so few years, we are here since yesterday discussing about what is occurring in this area of the world. Things are changing thanks to technology. And when we had the crisis in 1979 with Iran hijacking the American and European companies from Iran, it was necessary to react, and to react with technology, but also with the development of the Convention of the Law of the Sea, which has given coastal state the right to create new border. And this is the new map of Europe. It's strange, as you can see, that all countries have changed their shape. Why? Because everybody is interested to exploit the area, the maritime area. This map is no more valid because there is something new. Crimea changed completely the setting of the Black Sea for the benefits of Russia, of course. And this is creating another change, another difficulty. SCIF gas project was ongoing, nearly finished. It has been obliged to change and to be stopped. That means that we need to prepare, to be prepared for the future. So let's come back to the area of main interest for those days, about the Levantine Sea with the development of what is going on there. Even without the new development of Glaucus and Calypso in Cyprus, because we still need to be sure about the data, you see that we have in the southeast of the European Union a new Norway. It's important. Norway is an important country for the EU, for gas supply, and now we have more than Norway close or even inside the EU. Therefore, we need to be prepared for this new situation. And furthermore, I think that yesterday we had a presentation on Zohr. What is occurring in Egypt is so great, and I'm very impressed by this image of Mr. Al-Sisi with the chairman of Eni, Mr. Descansi. You see the joy of this man, because it's really a bonanza for the country to get so much gas, and it's not finished. The question is where this gas will go. Well, it is the title of the presentation of the session, the market. The market will decide. Of course, politicians are helping it. We had yesterday the Minister of Greece, of Energy of Greece, and we have the Commissioner for Energy and Climate. And clearly, there is a political will, including from the American, to allow this gas to come to Europe. But some people are questioning that. Bruegel think tank said, is this just another EU pipe dream? We doesn't know. There are changes. It's better to be prepared for changes. This is another picture of not even 10 years ago. And you remember the Nabucco project. Everybody was convinced that the Nabucco project will be implemented. You see here the commissioner, president of the commission, Mr. Barroso, the commissioner for energy, Mr. Piebalgs, less than 10 years ago. Nabucco has not been implemented. Well, the gas from Caspian Sea is coming to the EU, but with other people, with other projects. And so we need to be prepared, as I said, for changes, because it's the market and the technology which is going to decide. And it's not sure that this pipe will come to Europe, because Israel is already agreeing to sell gas to Egypt. Contract has been signed for 10 years. Is there enough gas to go to Europe with a pipe which is going to cost 7 to 10 billions? Maybe. I don't know. I do not know what will be the future. Furthermore, Cyprus have signed an agreement also with Israel's Delek and Egypt to sell gas to Egypt. So, big change, and it is at the end, the market will decide. So what could be the future of gas supply in Europe? We have the incumbent, Russia, Norway, and Algeria, the Nord Stream 1, maybe Nord Stream 2. We have the Caspian Sea, which is arriving in the southeast of Europe, Greece and Italy. We have gas from Qatar and Nigeria. US gas is arriving in Europe. Levantine Sea development. Well, something new is occurring, of course, in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And this is why Europe is financing the common interest project with this fantastic network, in the plan of Mr. Juncker. That's a fantastic project that any methane molecule arriving in Europe can flow everywhere in other parts of Europe in order to create a real fluid gas market in the EU. I think this is the major achievement of the Commission of those last years. Is this meaning that there is a danger for Russian gas? I don't think so. There is so much gas in Russia that Russia will continue to be a key player. You see the terminal in Sabeta, in Yamal, and the possibility to go from Yamal to Asia market, and also to go to Europe, and from there to flow to the rest of the world, and not only South Asia, but also India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Well, this is Asia also, but the south of Asia. I think the potential is extremely high there. Furthermore, this is a new graph of the European Commission showing how American gas is arriving now in Europe. And this is a major change, thanks to the technology of shale gas production in America. And you see that now 35% of the gas exported by USA is coming to Europe, and American gas is representing 13%. What will be the future? The market will decide, for sure. And don't forget that we have not yet mentioned that today, I think, even yesterday, Australia is a major gas potential. And we are only at the beginning of the development of gas in Australia with shale gas. Will this shale gas arrive in Europe? Of course, by LNG. And therefore, you see that what we were thinking we learned for many years that there are three markets for gas. This is over. We are going to have one single gas market thanks to the fluidity of LNG and the abundance of fossil fuel. I think that it's over. No, I have one last slide. I told you that the gas is a bridge, a very long bridge. I know that we are talking about transition. It's even the title of our conference. What does it mean? This is the total world consumption in the world until now. This is what means energy transition. Do you think that this is possible? Well, I think this is demonstrating that gas is a long bridge, because this will be extremely difficult to achieve. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. I just want to change a little bit what was written on the program, and I will leave the floor to Lucie Roux in order to have an overview of LNG. All right? You have the floor.
Okay, so I'm covering LNG, so it's LNG perspective now. What has happened in the last year is fascinating in my point of view. We have more projects coming online. We had seen more participants, more commoditization. But what is fascinating is the role that Europe has been playing since last winter, a key role. But maybe let's start with map, because we love maps. It seems complicated, but it just shows the flows, the current flows of LNG in the world, actually. There has been a shift from last winter from a traditional Asian demand pull into Asia to a supply push into Europe. And there are at least two reasons for that, and at least two consequences of that. The first reason is that we had more supply, more project, more volumes of LNG coming from the US and from Russia, Yamal LNG. These volumes were supposed, or we were expecting these volumes to stop in Europe and being reloaded to Asia. But it didn't happen since last winter. Why? Because of price. So if you are a European trader, you want to make profit. So you want to sell your gas where you have the highest price. And if you look at this chart since last winter, you can see that you can make more money if you sell your gas to European hubs instead of reloading to Asia. If you are a US supplier or a trader, it's the same thing. You make more money at the moment to sell your gas to European gas hubs than to reload to Asia. Consequences of that, at least two. First of all, obviously, if you have more volumes coming to Europe, you have more liquidity. So the first chart on the top shows the OTC liquidity, and you can see that since last year, the end of last year, we had an increase of liquidity in Europe. The second chart shows that it's the same thing, but it shows how much the Dutch TTF has grown in terms of liquidity. And so what, you will ask me? Well, as we heard yesterday at the last panel, if you have more liquidity at a hub, you have more transparency, more flexibility, and you trust. So people are trusting more and more the TTF, the Dutch TTF hub. And you see that people have been hedging more on TTF. We've seen quite a lot of new long-term sales and purchase agreements signed lately since last year, and a lot of them are actually linked to TTF. Second consequence is, of course, if you have more volume sold into the European hubs, you have more regasification. If you have more regasification, it means that finally the European terminals are useful. Last year we had about 30% of utilization of the capacity, 30. Now in Northwest Europe we have 70%. In Europe it's about 50. But what does it mean? It means that people are more positive about the investment in import terminal in Europe. You know, before it was something politics, it's going to lose money, we are going to pay more electricity bills, and so on and so on. Southwest Europe has maybe an issue of security supply, it makes sense, but if you look at some projects in Northern Europe, like Germany, for instance, when I heard the participants talking about German terminals in last year, they were just thinking, it makes nonsense, that doesn't make any profit, you know, it's probably to please Mr. Trump over there with the car industry, and we don't see the purpose of these terminals. Now the speech is different. Participants are seeing some, you know, some use of the LNG terminal over there. The capacity, the regas capacity market is becoming a hot market in a way. You've seen some operators launching some open season. You've even seen some companies launching some tenders for capacity, regas capacity. So, what I mean with all that is that Europe is playing a key role now. It has a huge import capacity, it's flexible, you have about 100 BCM of storage capacity in Europe, you have more than 200 BCM of regas capacity. I don't know what will happen in the future. I don't do forecast, it's not my job, it's the job of my colleagues from analytics, you can ask them. But what I can hear from the market is that the perception of Europe as a key role has changed, even if we get less volume in the future. It's not the market of the last resort anymore. It has a role to play in terms of how we can absorb, how it's flexible, you know, with all these hubs. And that's it for me for today. Thank you.
Merci, Lucie. I will leave the floor now to Michael Andreou from Cyprus. You have the floor.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank the chairman of HAEE for his kind invitation, so I'm here, and also to congratulate all the members of the organizing committee. Now I will talk about the Cyprus projects. When I say projects, there are a lot of projects going on at this time of the day. The current market conditions in Cyprus are the following. Cyprus has an energy-isolated market. It's a high dependency on liquid fuels at the moment. We have 3 main conventional power stations owned by Electricity Authority of Cyprus, the total of 1,478 megawatt power. Dual fuel at the moment are only the 830 megawatt at Vasiliko power stations. The increase of renewables, they do come through solar and wind. Energy market regulation under SERA in Cyprus. Cyprus law is to harmonize with EU Directive 2009/73 EC. Derogations may apply due to isolation and the merchant market. Possible monopolistic operation for early years. Cygas is DEFA, our company, which has with LNG Supply Options study. The target is to have LNG supply by 2021 due to environmental constraints relating to emission limits. DEFA analyzed and compare all options for LNG supply. The optimum way forward is taking into consideration about cost, time, and flexibility is through floating storage and regas facility, FSRU is called. So we went for tenders to introduce LNG to Cyprus initially for power generation and subsequently for other industrial, transport, and urban uses. To end energy isolation of the island of Cyprus and to lead to market integration, synergies, and interoperability with other member states, Greece, Italy, etc., as well as other regional markets. We talk with Israel, Jordan, Beirut, Egypt, to establish a well-functioning and fully integrated internal energy market, to provide security of supply at the regional level, to contribute to achieving the European Union diversification policy, Mediterranean gas corridor, through the development of an LNG hub in the Mediterranean, contribution to the reduction of GNG emissions, preparation for a low carbon economy on the island, and compliance with the 2020 target linked to the obligations of the Republic of Cyprus stemming from the Industrial Emissions Directive. Cyprus LNG Import Terminal awarded a Connecting Europe Facility CEF grant of 40% of eligible CapEx up to 101 million euros. Tender has been announced on the 5th of October 2018. Submissions they will be by the 31st of May 2019. Target award Q3 2019. Target date up to 24 months from contract signing. One-stage process. Request for proposal. The budget for the terminal is 300 million euros CapEx and 200 million OpEx for 20 years, 10 plus 10. Scope includes engineering, procurement, construction, FSRU, which we have to buy it, marine and civil works, operation and maintenance for the whole facilities up to 20 years. When I said 10 10 plus 10, it will mean that it will be 10 with the option to increase up to 20. The infrastructure description will be acquisition of the FSRU, construction of the jetty for FSRU berthing and mooring equipment, construction of the jetty-borne gas pipeline and loading arms, construction of onshore gas pipeline and shoreside above-ground installation, construction of pipeline storage array, natural gas buffer solution in case we run out of gas for some minutes, then in order for the generations to take fuel again. Construction of offshore AGI pressure reduction and metering stations. This is the infrastructure layout, jetty, FSRU, jetty-borne pipeline, etc. Here you can see the FSRU. And we took into consideration expansion of the jetty in order if Vasilikos Bay, which is there is Vasilikos in Cyprus, becomes a hub, then to have the capability of exporting gas as well. So ships will come, loading ships will come here, loading and go away. This is the FSRU plus the loading ship. So LNG carrier will bring the gas, unload it to the FSRU, and from there FSRU will go to the onshore. This is the onshore infrastructure, which shows the buffer we referred before, as well as the meterings, etc., until the power generation point. Project maturity licensing and financing, secure environmental licensing, received preliminary permit for marine works from Port Authority, Cyprus Port Authority, created a DEFA, natural gas regasification infrastructure company for projects SPV. This is the DEFA, which will be the infrastructure. Engage in discussion with EIB and EBRD, with, also as well with discussion with other interested financial institutions. Government of Cyprus decision for Electricity Authority of Cyprus to participate in the infrastructure SPV up to 30%. Next steps, short term, LNG procurement. We will go out for expression of interest to be announced immediately. Receiving interest for MSAs and SPAs RFP stage. SPRP stage following award of infrastructure. It will be done after the infrastructure has been awarded. Then we go another tender, owner's engineer. It will be announced in a month's time from today. Then open season process is for the Cypriot market in order to find out what the quantities are and to secure the supply as well. This is, and again, longer term, we can see Vasilikos is there. Is there. And another place is the Gale over there, which is, there is another generation for Electricity Authority, but at the moment we are not installing anything there, and we did only the studies for the infrastructure, land infrastructure, which goes from here to there. It's about 75 kilometers. Supply to other LNG consuming markets, bunkering, industry, road transports. LNG pipeline network development, preliminary design and feasibility study completed from Vasilikos to Digelia. And for phase A, power generation supply and development of backbone transmission network. This is Cyprus, and these are the projects we are out, and anybody interested can bid on them, except the other one, which is, except the infrastructure, which will be, this month will be the deadline. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Andreou. I will leave the floor now to Federico Regola, and then we will finish with Greece. All right for you? Good?
Okay. Kalimera Seolus. Okay. Thank you for the invitation and for the important part there. As we represent let me say, the end of the chain, because we are a company that buy gas, also electricity, of course, and sell to the final customer. So it's quite important to have before the total view from worldwide up to the final step of the market. That is really important because, as someone says before, the professor say, okay, we need the customer, we need someone that use this gas for a long time, I hope. Let me give only some flavor about the wholesale market by a buyer point of view. Of course, I'm speaking about Greece. Let us to say that we started to see in the last 2 quarters some timid positive signal about more liquidity. I speak about liquidity, not price. The price is still not satisfactory. And it's premature to say that we are in front of an era of the buyer. But we are more positive. We can say that at least what is happening in Europe and in the world is also propagating here in Greece, and this sometimes doesn't happen. I mean about LNG. I mean LNG because the imports that in EU had a dramatic increase, as we see. The first quarter in Europe was plus 60%, if I understand well, had some effect also finally in Greece. This is positive because Greece was quite a very single market. Experts say that is due to the gap between Far East and Europe that is becoming more competing for Europe. So this is good. Of course, let me say that this was also positive thanks to the investment that were done here in Greece in Revitusa by DEFA that make Greece capable to catch the demand dynamic of the market. This seems simple, but it is a huge change. Of course, better we buy, better we sell to our final customer. Let me pass now to the retail market, the final user. Let me say that we are, let me see if I go, okay. We are by far to have a satisfactory national final market. I mean a reasonable and large national pool in which to supply our clean, cheap and transparent product, the natural gas, to customers and to develop also a real competition. Let me show this slide. In EU, the final gas customers are half of the electricity, more or less 40%. In Italy, they are 60%, somewhere are 80%, somewhere are 30%. Unfortunately, in Greece, the gas customer compared with electricity customer are only 6%. I refer, of course, about connection. And so this is a fact. So there is a lot to do because we understand that there is gas, but we need also connection, users. And not only this, we have also to say that 70% of the final connection are concentrated in north of Greece. The final gas market, so, is not yet national, but is local, and let me say, is small, less than 500,000 of connection. So we need a real effort, mainly by the EDA, sorry, because every time I meet EDA guys of Attiki, I challenge them, but also the new data, to reduce the gap, at least with the north. We have lost a lot of time, and it's a time to recover. Said that, let us to speak about us, about Zenith, because at the end, okay, we are a commercial company. In this panorama, we can only proud to be part of a unique story. I repeat unique because our story of achievement is very particular. In 20 years and not in 160 years as my friend Mitropoulos is saying, we did the gas story, providing to the nation, to the market, 2/3 of the gas customer. And now, of course, the market is open, and all the competitors are taking the fruit of our past work. But this is the market, these are the rules. We like competition, we don't rest on results, we have the pioneering and international DNA of Eni. Let me say that we were, in fact, the first to launch the dual offer to retail customer. We did a brave and successful rebranding. You see how we changed from Aereo Thessaloniki Thessalia was a company that was very Nordic company in a, okay, let me say a national company with inside the promise of Eni in the name. And we have a continuous update of our target in acquiring also electricity customer. And we are continuing to focus on the final customer, the users of our gas, electricity, bills and services. These are the richness and value of the retail gas company. And for this reason, we are not competing for volumes with the scope to reach the award of volume market share. But we count on the customer, on connection, which by far the first alternative energy provider. We want the award of the final customer, the one that trusted in us to build day by day the gas portfolio in Greece, and now is willing to test also the electricity. Maybe the Greek final customer are not yet the prosumer, the modern way in which we see the customer, but we are sure that the Greek customer are rather looking for tangible and durable benefit by their supplier. I mean that they are not looking only on discount, but to be served and have peace of mind. In response of it, we build partnership with companies like APSA, and we provide healthcare services to our customers. But we are looking for more to educate customers to do reasonable and informed choice, giving them other opportunities. Here you can see what we did with our partner. At first, we expect the Athenians in Kifisia to visit us in the new store in next June. And let me say, finishing, that yesterday night we launched on television a new campaign for a peace of mind packs with no discount promise. Is a brave choice, but we are Zenith, so what else? Let me, maybe, I don't know if someone has to launch the video, or I do.
Τι είναι αυτό πάλι, δεν νιώθω καλά.
Τι έπαθες, είσαι καλά?
Όχι, δεν είναι δυνατόν, πλάκα μου κάνουν.
Δεν θέλετε τέτοιες εκπλήξεις όταν έρχεται ο λογαριασμός φυσικού αερίου και ρεύματος, Στη Zenith δεν θα έχετε. Γιατί πρώτη Zenith σας φέρνει σταθερό λογαριασμό κάθε μήνα. Διαλέξτε το πακέτο που σας ταιριάζει. Συνδυάστε και φυσικό αέριο και ρεύμα από τη Zenith και κερδίστε ακόμα περισσότερο. Zenith, κορυφαία ενέργεια.
So let me say, he's not here, Mr. Richards, that I know that was saying he was landing on Athens and DC before a lot of turbine, wind turbine. And when I land here, let me say, we have 4 million of people and more than 100,000 connections. We need more connection of gas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now it's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Ioannis Mitropoulos. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Federico's presentation was something like a teaser for my presentation, so this is really nice. In the next 10 minutes, I will try to give you a view from the retailers and the consumers' side. It's not going to be only for gas, even though this is the title of the presentation, but it's going to be both gas and power, because practically both markets are connected. Okay, I have the same problem. Okay. Okay. It's working now. Δουλεύει νομίζω τώρα. Είμαστε εντάξει. So, as I said before, we have a history of 160 years. We are energy retailers for that long. It seems a bit strange, but this is the truth. Today, we are providing energy services to 400,000 residential customers for both gas and power. Also, 9,000 small and medium enterprises, 300 large B2B customers, and finally 1,200 schools and public customers. We have nationally 468 points of sales, and we are a company of an annual turnover of more than 200 million euros. Now, as I said before, today, at least, both markets are connected. The retailers behave the same way in both markets, in Greece at least, and also the consumers are perceiving the retailers more or less the same in both markets. The gas market was practically liberalized for the B2B customers in 2015, and for the whole rest market in January 2018. We do not know currently what is the market share of the dominant players. At least there is no established method like the power market yet, but I think that this is going to happen sooner or later. Now, the power market was liberalized exactly 11 years ago. So it's much more mature in terms of competition. However, today the incumbent has almost 80%. These are the numbers for February 2019. This 78% market share you see here was much higher a couple of years ago, but the NOME auctions supported the progress so far. Of course, this is a multidimensional problem, but today I'm just going to show you, to give you the view from the retailer and the consumer side only. I'm not going to discuss anything or make any comments or give you my views about the regulation and the legal framework, etc., etc. Now, this is exactly what Federico said just before. This is how we are competing today. Almost all retailers, if not everybody, we are competing on price. Discounts. This is it. And this is actual clippings from product offers today. Usually the discounts are applied on nominal prices or price lists. So it's not clear, there is no clarity. Of course, always the expectations are much higher, so if someone claims a 30% discount, someone would expect normally that his or her gas and power bills are going to be cut by 30%. Of course, this is not the case. So what we are doing today is that we are selling commodities. This is what we are doing. And again, I'm reminding you that the power market is liberalized almost 15 years. Well, this is not exactly the case. What's happening in other mature markets? In total, what I'm going to show you for the next 5 minutes are the findings from a survey performed in Europe. So in Europe today, there is a high diversity of products and services with 36 different attributes in various combinations. So you can see that only 11 attributes are tariff price benefits, and all the others are either non-price financial benefits or non-financial benefits. In Europe, they have moved away many years from competing in prices, and they are moving to, they have already moved many years ago to services. You know, as retailers, our job is to offer a integrated and complete customer experience to our customers, and our customers is the strength. And this is what should we do. So this is a look to the future for Greece as well. Now, from the same survey, these are the top attributes that support churn, so the highest churn impact for gas. The first one is a gift offer, and the second one is energy check and advice. So none of those two are, for sure, they are not tariff price or even non-financial price benefits. This is what's happening in Europe today in gas. In electricity, the first attribute that supports churn is the variety of energy pricing and alternative available to consumer. So that is diversity in products. And the second one is consumption feedback. So you can see here no discounts, none whatsoever. This is what's happening. This is a brief of one specific cluster from the same survey. All of those countries are much more mature than the Greek market. So we can see here that the retailers in those markets, in this cluster, they compete on non-price financial attributes mainly, and also they are trying to offer other benefits, like, for example, consumption feedback. But even in this case, as you may read on the presentation, these are results of regulation. These are some of the examples of services that are offered in Europe. So you can see here Eni, they are giving away coffee machines. Okay, this is Italy, so they like coffee. Here you can see the Green Star Energy Perks. So this is a loyalty program. We've seen in Greece loyalty programs at least 3 decades in other markets. This is direct energy from France. Again, VAS, this is value-added services. And finally, something much more exciting. This is not available in Europe, but this is the future. This is not just energy efficiency services. Here we are talking about cloud-based platforms with machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithm and real-time data processing and control, which is not just energy efficiency. It's something like integrated distributed energy resources, which includes things like energy efficiency, demand response, distributed generation, distributed storage, vehicle to grids, and many, many other exotic things, which it may be exotic for us or even for Europe, but this is happening today in the US. And what's happening is that the cloud or the machine has full control of the appliances, or at least the consumption in the house. It actually regulates how this is happening, and it can do everything. without the consumers feeling that they are losing any percentage of convenience. So this is happening today in the US, this is going to come in Europe, and hopefully this is going to come very soon in Greece as well. So just summing up, how we are going to proceed and progress in Greece, I personally believe that the only way is through innovation, diversity, synergies, value creation for our customers. This is the way forward, so this is the way that we are, the direction that we are looking at. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I give you the floor, sir. Yes. We will try to finish in the next coming 10 minutes. All right. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Christos Koulidas, Technical Director of the Attiki Natural Gas Distribution Company. I will talk to you about what stands in between the gas exploitation and transportation and the end consumer that the previous speakers talked. And I will say that distribution is what really brings the gas near the customers, connects them to the network, and as Mr. Regola asked, more customers, more gas means more networks in the ground. Just the first quick view of the Athens area. Athens had gas from the late 19th century for street lighting purposes in the beginning. And then the municipality company of gas using coal gas distributed gas in the center of the town for heating purposes. In the beginning of this century, in 2001, the real distribution of gas started in Athens and in other areas of Greece as well. Since then, many changes have been occurred in the market, mainly the liberalization and the unbundling of the natural gas industry. What is the role of the gas distribution company and the role of our company? It's to operate and maintain the distribution network in order to distribute gas with safety and adequate capacity, is to connect new customers, to approve the studies of the internal installations of the end customers, and before giving gas, to make some safety audits. Also, very important is its role in the network expansion. It has to expand the network using some techno-economical criteria. And of course, market-wise, it should provide equal and non-discriminatory access to the network to all suppliers and end customers. Also, it has to provide high-quality services to the customers, to promote also the use of gas by using publicity or giving incentives to more customers to be connected, and most of all, to apply strictly the technical regulations and all the safety procedures that are needed. Our company today operates in the prefecture of Attica. It serves about 350,000 households, 7,000 commercial customers, 200 large industrial customers, and other public and commercial buildings like schools, etc. Our company has an extensive expertise in gas distribution, also well-trained and experienced personnel, and applies high safety standards and procedures in all its activities. Also, it uses technology as much as possible. All the businesses, its businesses passes through the SAP system, and also the GIS and the SCADA system is one of the new technologies it uses. Here are some key figures very quickly. 330 kilometers of medium pressure. The low pressure system, which is the most extended, is totally about 3,050 and 500 kilometers. Stations, and finally 75,000 service lines that serves 125,000 meters. A schematic diagram of the system. It has three classes of pressure. One is the red one is the medium pressure that serves the low pressure system with the independent operation sectors. And in the very center of Athens, we have the old 25 millibar network that we inherited from the ancient municipality company, which has some issues concerning the capacity and the replacement of the old pipes that's still existing. Here is the map of the Attica with the 53 municipalities that have gas. Here is the medium pressure system. Here is the low pressure system. We cover 55% of the streets of Attica, and the penetration so far is not that high, but is increasing constantly. Now is around 36% of the total potential customers. Here is a distribution schematic of our system, and some, maybe you've seen some scenes that like that on the road when we install pipes, main pipes, low pressure, the yellow typical pipe. Here are some stations, and this is a typical service line that connects the customer from the central pipeline to the regulator and the meters. The evolution of the gas network in Attica in the first years was very rapid. Then there was a period of stability, and we planned in the 5 next years to start again constructing new networks in order to make more customers available to connect. Here is the penetration rate map of Attica today. You see there are some differences. Mainly the north areas of Athens are more connected, let's say, to the network, probably the weather conditions and the income conditions. In our new business plan of the next 5 years, we have 2 main axes, which is, first of all, to densify the utilization of the existing networks by connecting more customers to it. And secondly, to construct new network in order to give more to more customers the ability to connect. So in the next 5 years, we plan to construct 600 kilometers of low pressure. Is about 120 kilometers per year, and keep that rate of new connections per year up to 15,000 connections. Lately, also to increase overall consumption of up to 400 million cubic meters by 2023.
Sir,
Yes.
could you just
Yes, we are
summarize?
finished.
Thank you so much.
Okay, here is the expansion plan for the next years. We plan to give information to all suppliers about our expansion plan in order to have them as assistance to our effort and them as well. And some figures about the market evolution and the consumption, as I told you before. This will allow us to improve our operational ratios, which is customers per meter of network, and also consumption per meter of network. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think we have to stop here. I just want to thank all the panelists for their presentation. I'm sorry for not having time for questions, but this is a game. And I think we move to the next session. Thank you so much.